Hi everyone, it's Hannah again. I'm on the plot and I've brought my seeds because it's a new month. So we need to talk about what we can sow now in August. So sowings now are becoming a little bit tricky. So instead of being in spring where later sowings can easily catch up with earlier ones because we're seeing an increase in light levels, sunlight hours and temperatures. Now that we're going into autumn and the days are getting shorter again, if you miss the boat, seedlings are unlikely to catch up. So it is a little bit trickier now getting the timings right, and obviously the weather will also play a role here, but there are some things that you can sort of try to plan for your August and September sowings. These are the last 2 months really where you do any kind of big sowings, right? So I carry my seeds in this little fold-out wallet. I did a video about this earlier because I thought it was such a great idea. It is still a great idea, but my paper folder is starting to deteriorate now, year 2, because I've kept it in my too damp conditions for far too many times. And if you remember a few vlogs back, I spilled a tray of water into it. So I did manage to dry all the seeds, thankfully, but yeah, I think that the folder kind of suffered a little bit. Anyway, let's see. So I have things organized by month. So then at the beginning of the year I sort of just go through what I want to sow, which varieties I want to grow that year, and then I put them in the sowing month. And then if you're sowing that again after you've sown lettuce in February or whatever, you put it in the next month you want to sow it. So I should have things organized in here, so let's dive in and see. Right, I am melting because it is damn hot today. For once it is summer, you can feel it's summer, even though we've had atrocious weather with the rain. Yes, anyway, let's get into it. So, winter greens, now is the time. So things like claytonia or rocket, salad or wild rocket or mitsuna are best sown now in autumn, because in spring they might rise to flower really quickly, but now because the light levels are decreasing, they are less likely to do so if you get the watering right. So now is the time to sow those, and that also includes other oriental greens. So I've got soy sim, pak choi, 2 types of pak choi, tatsoi, and then wawa kai choi, right? So this is really cool vegetables that is actually super tasty. Like it does sort of grow like maybe a bit like a kohlrabi, right? As in you get a clump of the vegetables, but I found the leaves were super tasty, just like cooked like any other oriental green really. So I love the flavor of these and I really enjoy them. So it's a shame that I struggle to grow them at any other time in the year than now. So, but if I sow them now, I'll be harvesting them throughout autumn, so I'm happy about that. The other things to grow now is also spinach. So again, spinach for me bolts very quickly in spring. It didn't this spring, and you know why? Because it was so cold, right? So the cold spring at least led to a good spinach harvest in spring, but a lot of spinaches can actually overwinter well. So you plant them out now and they might be cropping for you throughout winter if you're lucky, depending a little bit on where you are. They will obviously grow better under cover if you have a polytunnel or a greenhouse, but that sowing can wait until September. So I've got a new one for me this year, which is winter giant spinach, and yeah, it says cool weather crop on here, so definitely don't sow it. So I've got that one, I've got Medania and Lazio and Rubino, right? And also I've got some perpetual spinach, which I have saved seeds in a doggy poo bag, but they work really well, so they're from my plot neighbor Tom. And also then we have turnips. So Turnips, again, do well in spring, but you end up getting maybe a smaller bulb. I don't really know why, but that's how it works for me anyway. When I sow them in autumn, I tend to get a better harvest. But yes, now is the time to grow them. And again, if you tried sowing them earlier in the summer or late spring, they would probably bolt. But as well, if you sow them too late, if I would wait until September, which I tried last year, they also did not form a clump. What's it called? A root. They didn't form that round root, you know. And then in spring, I let them be to see what happened, and then in spring they bolted. So timing is good. So get your turnips in the early part of August, and I multi-sow them just like I do regularly. And the close relative to turnips are the winter radishes. So I've got the Spanish black one, and then I have a green one and a red flesh one. So I'm excited to try those two, the green one and the red flesh one. The black one, flavor wise, it's a little bit tricky, as well as texture wise, but they are so hardy that I was harvesting them, you know, in February still, and they were fine. So for that, in that sense, they are worth growing for me, because there's nothing else really going on at that time, or very few things. So anything that grows and can still be harvested through winter is a win for me, just to get something, you know. And then we have, sorry, where should we go? Oh yes, radishes, regular radishes. They just work for me very early in spring, because of later on they just get consumed by flea beetle here, and I don't want another crop to grow under mesh at that point, because there's just so many. So I save them again now for this time, and again they grow better now because it's getting shorter days, and then they will grow a bit slower, which means that they, you know, be less woody, right? Again, they were very good this year, huge, because of the rain that we had at a certain time. So it's just French breakfast and a mystery mix radish, which is just interesting for me. And then we have all the herbs. So there will be another sowing of herbs in September for planting inside my greenhouse. But these ones I'm actually gonna sow direct this year. So it's parsley, dill, coriander, and both flat and curly leaf. And I have to be honest, this year it's been so bad. So I usually sow everything in modules and then plant out. But the herbs have, every time I've sown them, failed to get planted out. I don't know why, I just have not been able to get them in the ground. So it's like, no, I'm not doing that now. And they will grow fine, direct sown. You might end up using more seed, but that's fine. And especially something like dill, where you want a lot of plants, because they inevitably start to flower very soon, so you don't get many harvests from one plant. That one is very good direct sown, I think. Obviously you might not be a big dill eater, but I'm Swedish, so we like dill. Right, so that was stuff to sow in the beginning of August. So then we get to the middle of August, and that is the time to start sowing your overwintering lettuces for outdoors, right? So obviously I'm in Oxford, so you might have to adjust it before and after me, but in general, middle of August, after middle of August, and maybe first week in September is the time to sow your lettuces that want to grow outside. Not all lettuces are suitable for outdoor growing, and it is a little bit of trial and error, and also what the weather is like. If you put, for example, mesh over the bed, they will get a little bit more protection from the weather. However, I'm probably not going to do that. If you have rabbits or other big mammals coming into a plot, you might want to mesh or net your lettuces anyway, so they'll get some protection from that. But I'm probably going to leave them uncovered, and I'll tell you why. So I've got all my usual lettuces, right? But I've got a new one this year, which is a winter marvel lettuce, which is a hardy one. It's a cold-resistant lettuce from France, so I'm hopeful for that one. And I'm also going to try all my other lettuces, because some of them, like the butterhead, might not survive very well, but the crisp head lettuce probably will. So you'll just have to wait and see, and you'll get some harvest before the plant succumbs to the winter weather later on. I'm trying a new thing this year as well. I'm going to try peas for shoots. So again, growing peas during the summer is very tricky because of mildew and other pests around, but because I'm growing them for shoots, it might just work. And now later sowing, we should get a few harvests. They won't be loads and they won't survive beyond the frosts, you know, but we should get a few of them. So I'm going to try that this year. Other things I'm going to try is land cress, which I've not tried before. So yeah, this one should also give some greens over winter, and I quite like the flavor of cress. During the summer you can get that flavor from nasturtium leaves, so hopefully this will be a good supplier. So this one says to cover with fleece or grow in a cold frame before the frost starts. So yeah, I guess I'll have to be adaptive. Maybe I will have to cover my whole lettuce, but I will also have lettuces in my greenhouse. I won't be fully reliant on my outdoor grown lettuces. Other things to sow are spring onions for overwintering. The one that is hardiest is white Lisbon, and I can attest to that. I had one grow totally fine and even bulked up over winter, so I'm growing that one, and then I have my red beard, like we'll see how that one performs over winter. And then another first for me, which is Paris early white overwintering onion. So obviously you can plant sets in autumn of onions, and they will then overwinter and then hopefully produce quite large onions earlier than maybe if you sow them from seed or grow them from sets in spring. But you can also overwinter seed sown onions, but again it's a little bit tricky. So with the sets planted in autumn, you risk them getting moldy or start growing white rot, and then that will then easily spread to any spring sown onions that you have, or garlic or whatever. So it's a little bit of a risk. Hopefully that's less of a risk with spring sown. I don't know, I just think it's worth it. So you can get really big bulbs by giving them this extra time to grow. So I think it's worth it. It's more of a gamble, and it says on the packet, sow outdoors 18th of August, not earlier. So this is definitely one for the late August sowings, and to give large bulbs following spring. So there'll be an early spring harvest of onions. I'm hopeful for that. And then as a little bonus, I've got some flowers, some cyclamen. So this is another one, you know, you sow in autumn, August, September, and then you plant out following spring, and then they flower the next autumn, October, November time, right? So it's a long game we're playing here. So these ones will, we'll see. I'll probably have to keep them in the greenhouse just to keep them safe from the slugs, you know. Yeah, so we'll see. They obviously don't like it too hot, so we'll see how it goes. I might have to wait until, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna put these in September. It just feels too hot because I don't have any shade to put my seedlings in on that plot. It's just full sun everywhere, right? So I think I'm gonna put these in the September bit instead. Sorry about that. No flowers, no flowers. But yeah, so that's the seeds I'm going to sow in August. I wanted to update you on the blight situation. So I did have a leaf that I showed you, either the last vlog or the vlog before, that had what I thought might have been blight. And I can update you and say that yes, it probably was. So I have had to remove 3 plants now of my outdoor tomatoes, where for me, I know for sure that it's blight when it sits on either the unripe fruit or on the stem, that the stem goes brown, and then I just take the whole plant out. Because I have all of my varieties, apart from maybe one, the green zebra, I think, I've got growing inside the greenhouse as well, so I'm not too worried about losing the varieties. To be honest, they're not growing that well outside. The only ones I'm really want to at least get a ripe tomato of are my tombola tomatoes, right? This is where we shared a packet of just mix of tomatoes, so we don't know what they are, so I would like to know what they are before I have to rip them out. So but yeah, so there we are. I have lost 3 plants, but as it's sunny today, it was sunny yesterday and sunny today, it's had a pause, but we have 4 days coming up of heavy rain, so I'm assuming it's going to spread onwards. I haven't seen it on my basket tomatoes yet, or any of the potatoes, but I think if it doesn't dry up for the rest of August, yeah, we're in for a rough ride. But I have some good news. I have some ripe tomatoes inside the greenhouse. Let's go check them out. So, oh, goodness me, it's sunny. Right, so we have the Sungold and the Sunviva, right? So these are the 2 yellow cherry varieties that I am growing side by side because I wanted to do a comparison. Sorry, it's very sunny in here and a bit, right. Hopefully you can see me there, right? So Sunviva is a open pollinated yellow cherry, and that was sold to me as a rival to Sungold, so I was like, all right, fine, I'll compare them, right? They are similar, but not exactly the same so far, and they have now got ripe tomatoes, so we'll see what they're like. So here they are. There's Sunviva and there's Sungold. Sungold's got 1 ripe cherry and Sunviva's got quite a few, so I'd say the Sunviva is ripening faster, but otherwise they have similar positionings for trusses, so I'd say we'll get a similar yield. However, the Sunviva is hit the apex and is starting to go over, whilst the Sungold is just here at the moment. I'm sure it will catch up, and they also have a different way of forming the trusses, right? So yeah, and there's a slight size difference as well. So the Sunviva is slightly larger cherry compared to the Sungold, and also the color, right? So let's harvest these now then. Okay, so we have the Sunviva, oh, and then the Sungold. So color wise is quite oh, where are you? Yeah, so there's a little bit of a difference there in the deep orangeness of the Sungold. But wow, they look pretty, don't they? Like, let's see what they taste like. Right, so here we are then. Let's cut them open, shall we? Ah! So I didn't bring a normal knife with me, of course. Right. This... Right, not sharp enough. Let's try the serrated edge. Right, there we go. Okay, that's the Sunviva. The Sungold. How very professional of me. Right, let's see then. Ah! Okay, I'm gonna try the Sunviva first. A bit flowery, and yeah, I can probably already say that it tastes nothing like I remember Sungold tasting. So let's put the Sungold in. Yeah, I mean, it's no comparison. It's so much sweeter. Maybe the skin is slightly thicker on the Sungold. Let's try it again here. Yeah, so the Sunviva is probably, it's sweeter than a regular red salad tomato, but it's just the Sungold has got so much more complex flavor notes in it. Yeah. I mean, I knew it was gonna hard to beat it, but at least the Sunviva is open pollinated and it's very vigorous, but yeah, in the taste test, I think Sungold's won, you know. Oh well. Anyway, I will leave you there and hope you get some seeds sown. I'm gonna get that done hopefully this week, and then yeah, get planning for my winter growing. You know, as a gardener you always have to think ahead. So happy gardening, and I'll see you next week.